First one on this list, we have Maka's dad, Spirit, and his ancestor from Fire Force named Scythe. At first glance, when we look at this Easter egg, it would be safe to assume that this Scythe character is actually Spirit, and Spirit is actually in the same bar as Assault at this very moment. AKA, Spirit from Soul Eater is currently in Fire Force. But something is off here. How is this Spirit if Fire Force is literally a prequel to Soul Eater? How is Spirit in Soul Eater and in Fire Force at the same time? It makes no sense. This very moment, this little Easter egg actually confuses a lot of fans. People look at the ending and they're like, how in the world is it a prequel if we see Spirit right here in Fire Force? Well, the thing is, this Scythe character isn't actually Spirit, but instead his ancient ancestor. And Scythe, just like Spirit, seems to be having issues with his daughter. Like father, like son, or I guess you could say like great, I'm not going to keep saying great, but grandfather like great grandson. I guess the fruit doesn't fall that far off from the tree. But yes, the most logical explanation for this would be that this same Scythe character is actually Spirit's ancestor. As for the next on the list, we have Benimaru and his descendant Akane. If Akane's haircut isn't enough for you, just look at his eyes. Literally the exact same as Benimaru's, but rather than an X, the X turns into a star, because it seems as though Benimaru's lineage does merge with the Star Clan at some point in time. It seems as though later on down the timeline, maybe Reika might have came back while he was traveling around the world, or over time one of his descendants actually came across one of Benimaru's descendants and they might have done the business and actually started the Hoshi branch in the Star Clan. I think it's really obvious that Reika has some connection here because his last name is actually Hoshimiya, and obviously this is the Hoshi house. Akane's resemblances to Benimaru are extremely close, and I really can't think of any other character that could possibly be a descendant for Benimaru. Especially when you take into consideration that no other character outside of Akane seems to have Benimaru's most iconic trait, his eyes. Next on this list, we have Inka and Kim. Not only is Inka literally the first witch in all of Fire Force and Soul Eater, aka she's the mother of all witches, but it seems like Kim is most likely the direct descendant from Inka. Not only do they look extremely similar, but I'd find it very far-fetched that Kim, with this exclusive ability of having regeneration and not having a natural instinct that most witches have, which is the pull of destruction. If you don't know what the pull of destruction is, basically every single witch craves destruction, very similar to how Inka is in Fire Force. But Kim actually goes against the grain because her magic ability is regeneration. Me personally, I don't think some random witch that just so happens to look like Inka would have this random ability. So that's why I personally think that she is most likely the direct descendant of Inka. Now, whether or not she's a descendant of Shinra and Inka together is really a tough call. You could say because Shinra has these godlike abilities with creation and stuff like that, maybe that led to Kim developing a regeneration ability. It's really hard to say, but interesting to speculate nonetheless. Next on the list, we have Conro and Subaki. Now, most people like to speculate that Subaki is actually a descendant of Benimaru, and there's nothing wrong with that because they do look alike. But me personally, I'm more leaning against towards Conro because not only does Subaki's brother actually looks just like him, but they actually share a lot of resemblances between each other. Conro and Subaki wear their hair the same way, and they both have a calming nature to them, or calm vibe, when it comes to their personalities. And if there's anything that really stands out about Conro to me, it's his skills with a sword. But not only this, they are both the right hands to some of the strongest characters from both of their respective series, Black Star and Benimaru. Two characters who are both considered gods, and it seems as though they both have calm advisors / partners to keep them from being loose cannons. And while we're on the topic of Black Star and Benimaru, I don't think it would be too far-fetched to say that there's some type of relation there when you take into consideration that Benimaru's ancestors most likely became members of the Star Clan, since they're most likely the founders of the Star Clan in their main branch, the Hoshi branch. since Akane would be Benimaru's direct descendant. It seems as though Benimaru could be a potential distant relative to Black Star, and that would actually explain a lot of things. Benimaru seems to have a huge connection with Akala, and in the latter half of the Soul Eater manga, we actually see Black Star make a projection of Akala, or a god that seems to resemble him as he's fighting the Kishin. Is this a mere coincidence? Benimaru seems to have a connection with the Star Clan, and not only this, Benimaru and both Black Star have a connection with Akala? A mere coincidence? I think not! But hey man, I guess it's just my nutjob theory. And next on this list, we have Burns and Mufune. A lot of people like to say that Mufune is most likely a descendant from Benimaru. But personally, I feel like Burns and Mufune look a lot more alike than Mufune or Benimaru ever would. And if we put aside their looks, the respective roles that both of these characters play in the stories that they're in, they actually share a lot of similarities. Burns in his unwavering devotion towards God, and Mufune's unwavering devotion towards the sword. Both Burns and Mufune act as tests for both Shinra and Black Star, obstacles that stand in both of their ways from becoming gods themselves. Burns and Mufune are tests of our character's strength, and both of their fights are more or less for the sake of helping both Black Star and Shinra. Similar to how Burns paved the way for Shinra by testing his strength, and likewise, I wouldn't be surprised if Burns' descendant Mufune did the same for Black Star. It seems as though that would be a very logical role that their bloodline would play. Through their unwavering devotion, they would serve as a bigger plan into what the cosmos ultimately has in store for them. Now, last but not least on this list, we have Maka's mom. Not Maka, but her mom, specifically. But this actually does ultimately tie into Maka's bloodline. So we all already know about Spirit's ancestor. But what about Maka's mom? When Spirit talks about Maka's mom, there's something that really stands out to me. Mama is so strong, the madness just bounces right off of her, so maybe she didn't need it. Madness bounces right off. Now, I might have to get into a lot more detail in terms of this. So if you guys didn't realize, in Soul Eater, the Kishin uses fire with the majority of his attacks. Basically, the flames of insanity. I guess you could say these flames are very similar to the flames of Adala, especially when you take into account about perceptions on order and madness and all that other stuff, but I don't want to dive too deep into that. So basically, the pyrokinetic abilities that they use in Fire Force are actually madness. We know this because with every single generation of fire soldiers, it seems as though they get closer to Adala. And when Adala actually begins to merge with the world and get closer, every single generation actually gets stronger flames. And the same flames that they use are affected by their perceptions and their imagination. Bro, basically, the way Soul Eater works, the flames that they use is basically madness, right? So there's another character that exists in Fire Force, and flames bounce right off of him. That is Charon. At the end of the series, Haumea and Charon get together. It seems as though the endless well of courage that Maka has, and this same strength that Maka's mom does have, could potentially be from Charon. Not only because madness bounces off of him just like how it does Maka's mother, but I also feel like Maka's innocent nature comes from Haumea. And I also feel like this would also be the reason why Maka has a Grigori soul. But not only this, I kind of feel like Haumea and Maka do look alike. Well, we reached the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me your theories below. Tell me if you bang with my theories below as well. And I'll see you guys in the next Fire Force video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm out.